The dating pool dropouts. Young men today feel they must be 6 feet tall, make six figures, have 6 inches downstairs. Yep, the 666 we always talk about. To get a girlfriend. So many have given up trying, and they're actually happier now. Guys are starting to realize there's more to life than just pussy. Are you religious? Oh. That question made Jamal squirm. The answer was no, but he could tell his date wanted it to be yes. And after an hour-long drive to get here to a Caribbean restaurant in Orlando, Florida, he could tell it wasn't working. This experience right here, oh my God. I've had similar things happen as well. Like where I waste hours of my time, sometimes like hundreds of dollars, only to then realize that this isn't going to work. Like, man, my night would have been so much better spent if I just stayed home and ordered a pizza and then rolled on a gotcha game with that money or something. That would have been a way better use of that money. If this happens enough times, guys just start realizing it's not worth it. I think we should just be friends, the 36-year-old security guard remembers telling the girl he met at dinner last month after they met on Facebook. So the guy is friend zoning the girl now. Nice. It was his first date in 3 years. He says he once went 6 months without getting a single match on a dating app, even though he pays $30 between OkCupid, Bumble, and Hinge. If you count high school where he went to the movies with a classmate, Jamal says he's been on a total of 3 dates his entire life. Dude, if you're 36 years old already, I don't think it's gonna happen because it's like with marriage. Like, what was it the generally accepted stat that if you're a guy and you haven't been married by 35, whether you got divorced or not, like the point is if you've been previously married. Or if you haven't been previously married by the time you're 35, then you're probably not going to get married. And it's mostly just a matter of what you got used to. If you got used to living on your own and doing whatever you want and not worrying about other people, you're not going to suddenly be able to start. So like this guy already, he realizes immediately he wasted like hours of his time and all that money. Just stop wasting it. And now driving home from his date, it hit him like a ton of bricks. Why do I even do this at all? He walked into his apartment near Cape Canaveral, greeted the cats, and slumped on this couch. I'm so far out of the loop, he told me. He realized at the time, compared to my peers who have gone out with whammons, who know how to interact with them, I'm too far gone. I can't learn that stuff. Now, that's definitely true as well. Like, man, if you've gone too long without dating, it is so hard to like not come off as a creep or as someone who's not interested. There's so much you got to consider. Or you could just not care. You just do something else. So he trails off, then adds, I'm just not going to try anymore. It's not worth it. Jamal, who asked me to conceal his last name to protect his reputation at work, is one of a growing number of young men who are withdrawing from the dating pool. More than 6 in 10 men aged 18 to 29 are now single, up from 5 in 10 and just 4 years ago. Damn, that's not insignificant right there. The respondents gave a range of reasons for their singlehood, including having more important priorities, the fact that they just like being single, or they've gotten too old to keep trying. Combination of all of the above, yeah. Look, the older you get, the more you realize your time is limited, and then you realize you have less and less time, and then you're expected to jump through hoops like a circus monkey. A lot of guys realize, like, I could be doing way better things with this time and with this money. Why am I doing this? But part of it also boils down to this. It's hard for men to find partners at a moment where whammons are outpacing them at both school and work. Young whammons now hold 1.6 million more college degrees than men, and yet all the colleges still have women-exclusive programs to get more women into college. Nothing like that for men, though. Men are the minority now in college, yet are men getting any special programs or help? Nope. And a growing number of shitties, including LA, Washington, D.C., and New York, they make as much as, if not more than, their male counterparts. So the whammons force their way in, take the men's jobs, and then complain why there aren't, just bitch about why there aren't any high-value men anymore. Pretty typical. And they even if they become mothers, odds are 4 in 10 will become the breadwinners of their households. Hey, this is the equality you wanted. This you literally can't win with these women. So they wanted equal or better pay. They got it. Now they're complaining that there's not enough men making more than them. They wanted equality. They got it. Now they're complaining because they only wanted the benefits, not the disadvantages. And throughout pretty much the dawn of human history, men have just been expected to marry down and accept women that are socially way beneath them. Yet women aren't willing to do the same thing. You're gonna have to, man. You can't have it both ways. You can't out earn men and then still have men who make 3 times as much as you to take care of you. I mean, there are men who make 3 times as much as you, but you're so far beneath them, they don't even notice you. And what discourages me so much that most of the women I've seen on dating sites want a man making as much as them, and they're making upwards of like 100,000. I said Jamal, who tells me he makes 55,000 a year. That's not bad. But I guess it is for these. Oh man, you also got to think of what these women do. Like I was talking with a friend earlier about the quote unquote agile coordinator at their job, and he was trying to reveal to all of his coworkers that all this woman does is harass people who haven't been updating their tickets often enough. Like, wait, that's her entire job? Yep. And she gets paid how much more than me? Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? Coming to these realizations. So all these women making 100,000. I think this guy was a security guard, right? I'm just going to go back and check. Yeah, so he's a security guard. He's making 55,000 performing a useful service. How much you want to bet that these women making 100,000 plus all have, bloat jobs, like diversity and inclusion coordinator or something? That just adds insult to injury. Nagging as a service. That's a service they provide for free. You don't have to pay for that. A lot of men are checking out. He adds, we're just tired. They're tired of being told we don't measure up either physically or financially. I found Jamal on the online Reddit community, True and Popular Opinion, where men often vent about the dating scene. On another subreddit, Purple Pill Debate, male commenters bemoaned that they're held to the 666 rule, which mandates they be 6 feet tall, make 6 figures, and have 6 inches or more downstairs. So Jamal described himself as a straight-laced guy who was 5'5". Oh yeah, that's... He's automatically disqualified by like 99% of women's nowadays, even if the woman is like 4'5". The men I spoke with, ranging ages from 17 to 33, live in rural New Jersey to Austin, Texas, said they felt overlooked in the competitive dating market where women's often list salary requirements and height preferences on their profiles. Let that sink in. Women list height requirements and salary requirements on their profiles. That's fine. That's acceptable. If I was to make a dating profile and say no fat women and no single moms, really unrealistic expectations, misogynies, this bigot should be banned, this isn't inclusive, oh my God, I can't believe it, I'm literally shaking. You seeing the double standards here? Men aren't allowed to have preferences, and women are allowed to let theirs go completely out of control. To see if things were as bad as they claimed. Oh, this is the best part of the article. So I wish more women would do this, because they always just completely ignore. Like whenever we point out these problems, they just ignore us. They laugh at us. They tell us it's not real. The few that actually put the effort in and try to see if maybe we're telling the truth, they always come out surprised, like, oh my God, I didn't know it was this bad. Yeah, because you didn't listen until now. Now, to see if things are bad as they claimed, I joined 2 major dating platforms, Tinder and Hinge, and posed as a hip 30-year-old business owner with a full head of hair and a degree from NYU. A few swipes in, I spotted a busty blonde leaning over in a halter dress with the caption, together we could find out if you're lying about your height. Well, let's find out if you're lying about your age or your maternity status or your looks with that 3 pounds of makeup on your face. We could do this too. Then a 22-year-old captioned in a selfie at her work cubicle with her cleavage resting on her desk wrote, don't super like me if you're ugly. I already have a lot going on. If a guy had put that on his profile, they'd be writing articles about him. Another women's 5'2" bombshell named Ashley warned men, if you are one of those split the check and not wealthy, next. I thought you were all about empowerment, and yet you expect me to take care of you? I view you as an equal. I don't baby my equals. Yeah, are those milkers real? That's another thing women's fake. That's true. Now, that financial pressure is what screws men over the most, said Jess Carbino, former in-house sociologist for Tinder and Bumble. The traditional markers of adulthood, like buying a home, completing college, getting married, are all becoming far harder to achieve. Many men perceive themselves to be far less marriageable, and in turn, many women perceive them to be less marriageable too. Now, the end result of this, a lot of these guys, they learn to live alone and enjoy it. Like they live for their hobbies, they start enjoying their lives. Meanwhile, once these women hit the wall, they're the ones that are going to be having all the regrets. Now, she says it's never been easy to be Joe Average on the dating market, but things are tougher now that the average man's salary, which hovers just above $61,000 in the U.S., is hardly enough to afford rent in most major American shitties. Yet still, many whammons hold out for men who make not just as much or more than they do, but are also wildly attractive, while these women themselves look like Jabba the Hutt. While sexual revolution freed women from depending on men for income or stability, it also means they can privilege far more frivolous qualities in a mate, said Rob Henderson, a psychology PhD with a Substack on social mores. I would actually argue that women's their sexual revolution is what freed men, because men who only view them as sex objects can now get the sex they want without any commitment, and that's what they're doing. So people used to care a bit more deeply about moral character and hard work and whether a person was ethical or upstanding citizen, he tells me. And now you don't even worry about, and now you don't have to worry about that quite as much. And you can just focus on the things that are sort of like more immediate, like attraction. Well, yeah. And it's like the whole plenty of fish in the sea mentality. Like, well, if I don't need to make this relationship work, because even if it doesn't work out with this guy, I got like 100 more on my dating profile. I don't fucking care. That's the attitude they have. And that's why tens have such a bad attitude, because they never miss a chance to remind you, hey, if you don't treat me how I want to be treated, I can walk out of this house right now and have another boyfriend within an hour. I don't need you, until they hit the wall. And then they keep that same attitude while they no longer have the power they think they do. And they end up miserable as hell. But that's a different story. Let's forget that. So the result, the men at the tip top of the dating pool get everything, and the men who don't have it all get nothing. But even the alphas are feeling the squeeze. Ruh-roh. One New York City-based psychologist, David Gordon, says many of the high-powered men he treats, including doctors, lawyers, and financiers, fret over their ability to attract women, despite their enviable salaries and careers. This is why you become a passport bro. It's kind of sad or tragic, but some guys will look at their bank account, stocks, credit score every day, and if it's some sort of measure of their value, he says, we can look at the numbers, and I'm like, dude, looks pretty good to me. But still, he says that's there's this anxiety around, is this enough? It's not going to be enough after she divorces you and takes it. You got to have that in the back of your mind. That's the insecurity that keeps Santiago, 25-year-old from Albuquerque, New Mexico, up at night. The last time he dated anyone was current year -2, but that ended when he suspected she was cheating on him. Oh, was it just a suspicion, or did you get confirmation? Because this sounds like, unless we know more of the story, he might not be the good guy in the story necessarily. And now with the wound still raw, he fears he's not worthy of a girlfriend anymore. After being depressed for so long, I feel like it's a handicap, says Santiago, who works at a department store and has been on one date only since his breakup. Makes me feel like, oh, he's damaged goods. Now, if only Whammons had this level of self-awareness. And then there's the problem of not knowing how to approach a Waymans. He suspects his coworker might have a crush on him, yet he worries that one wrong move and he'll be labeled creepy. This is a legitimate problem, actually, that a lot of guys have, and especially because the only advice you could give for is basically, if you're attractive, you could get away with almost anything. If you're not attractive and you try to copy like what the attractive guys do, you'll be labeled a creep. So you have to be very self-aware with like your exact level of attraction. Because the two different guys can do the same thing to the same woman, get wildly different results. It's a common worry for men in the post-Pound Me Too era. Oh, who would have guessed that the Pound Me Too era would have turned men away from women? Man, if only guys back then were warning you about the unintended consequences. In a current year -7 study, over 95% of respondents replied that men were much more likely to be creepy people than women's. 120-something on Reddit who wanted to ask about out an employee at his local pet store groaned that men are expected to be the hunters, but shunned for doing so in public unless it's on a stupid app. Unless they look good, too. Like, look, if Brad Pitt in his prime walked in there and asked that woman out, no one would call him creepy. So Santiago does nothing. I'm a very insecure person. I don't want to burst anyone's bubble or break their boundaries, said third generation Mexican American. And then there's the cost of romance. Yeah. So next time someone laughs at you for spending $50 on your silly free to play waifu JPEG game, point out how much money they spent on their last date. And the average date in the U.S. comes with a $160 price tag, which costs more than 10 hours of work for those making a $15 hourly wage. It started getting so expensive for one bachelor, a 26-year-old banker, that he moved from L.A. to where rent averages around $3,000 to an apartment in Appalachia, where he and a friend now pay $500 each a month. That is a huge improvement, yes. Yeah, I just found it's a lot of time and frankly money, he says, about dating back west. We're risking so much for so little. Thank you. Yes, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. Exactly. Like, imagine putting $1,000 into something to get $5 back out. Wow. I don't think I should have done that. But the dating scene in Appalachia, he says, is not good either, probably because he's working remotely. Everyone is double my age and lives in like the Midwest. There's none of that cohesion or fun. The world has changed. You got to become a passport bro if you really want that. I would say learn to live without it. But if you can't, just get a passport, man. You work remote anyway, right? Any reason you can't work remote from the beach in Thailand or something? I guess it depends on if you're working on something with export controls, but whatever. Some men insist that they haven't checked out of dating. Rather, they have virtual girlfriends who satisfy all their needs. Nice. The waifus to the rescue. Over the past few years, startups like Replica, Character and Inflection have rolled out a universe of virtual companions that users can customize to meet their every desire. Oh, that's bullshit. They censor the fuck out of the stuff you really want. The one alluring chatbot, Ava AI, woos customers the promise build relationship and intimacy with you on your terms. And one influencer, Karen Margie, says she created an AI version of herself. So far, with more than 18,000 boyfriends to cure loneliness. Yeah, we covered that here, actually. She wasn't anywhere near 18,000 back then. Damn, good on her. And then there are the real life sirens of OnlyFans. I think the VTuber like versions of them are way better. Where it's 240 million users could purchase the girlfriend experience to get a constant stream of sex and loving messages in return for cold hard cash. But I thought prostitution was illegal. Ayla, a top OnlyFans performer who makes $100,000 on a good month, says a large part of her job is doting upon her admirers like a lover would, listening to them moan about their tough days or absent girlfriends. She's at least willing to put the work in, unlike their girlfriends. And that puts her above them just by default there, doesn't it? It turns out the thing men want is not just sex. She told the Free Press they want sex with a woman that likes them. And that's true. That's why there's so many incels. Because, even I say this a lot too, that, if you got $200, you're not an incel. But the counter is always something like this. Like, no, but if you pay for it, it's not the same thing. Only a minority of her customers are interested in just physical pleasure, she says. An overwhelming majority reach out to her for companionship or or simply to feel desired by a woman's. A big part of her job, she says, is tending to men who are lonely. Yeah, this is what we call a parasocial relationship. Yeah, an important component to sexual dynamic is to feel valued. She told me. Ethan King, the rapist who treats 90% men in Austin, Texas, says he often has to convince clients to look beyond the girls they see in prawn. Man, this they had to put that in there, like, as if most of these guys aren't already swiping on like threes and fours. Yeah. Yeah, people say they're totally happy with their prawn girlfriend. He says they're like, it's too risky. I'd rather be online. Oh, okay. I guess that's a little bit different. Yeah, so these are guys who are satisfied with the way things are, and of course, everyone misery loves company. So all these guys stuck in cheaper to keeper marriages are like, oh come on, you just haven't found the right one yet. But Ian Soltis, a 33-year-old overnight gas station attendant in Bridgeport, Connecticut, doesn't want to look past his online friend with benefits. He says he first met his online girlfriend on GameFAQs, a video game website that hosts message boards, when he was 13 or 14. They play video games together, message each other all day long. He told me he sent her a hug emoji during our interview. She's been more than willing to be very close and intimate with me online, he said. So any sexual urge I've had has been handled by that. Yeah, there's just one problem. They've never met in person or spoken on the phone. Sota says she can't because she's mute. Now, some of you might be thinking, like, oh, this dude's getting catfished. This would be the longest catfish ever. This guy is 33 years old and apparently met her when he was 13. This is the long game right there, man. If this is a 20-year catfish, congratulations, man. That has to be a world record. But yeah, you know what? A mute whammons, that doesn't sound like a bad idea, though. You won't have to worry about nagging. I'm pretty convinced it's a lie, he admitted, but at the same time, if I challenge her on it, what's going to happen? I'm going to find out that the one person I've been close friends with for decades now is a guy. I don't want to say I already know that because I don't. Well, if you limit your relationship to long-term only, does it really matter? Or long distance, rather? If you never plan on seeing this person, well, in person, yeah, it doesn't really matter, huh? He stumbles to find the right words. I'd just be losing a close friend, and I don't want to risk that. The U.S. marriage rate is the lowest it's been in over a century, with a quarter of 40-year-olds having never married. In 1980, only 6% of adults fell into that camp. From 6% to 25%. It's a trend that continues even though research shows married people are happier. Yeah, if you look at the biased research, sure, and you don't count the cheaper to keeper, yeah, there's all sorts of things to consider. Americans today discourage commitment now, says Stephen Mosher, a lead demographer at the Population Research Institute. The expectation 50 years ago was that everyone would eventually get married and have children. Now that expectation is gone. Yet now, both men and women view that as, like, if it happens, it's a chore. It's not something I want, it's something I'm stuck with. Already, an increasing number of women are going it alone as mothers, freezing their eggs and using sperm donors to procreate. So sperm donors, they're going to start declining as more sperm donors are hit up for child support. And the egg freezing thing is a gamble to begin with. Covered multiple stories here about women who froze their eggs thinking they'd be able to have kids later and none of their eggs are viable. And then they think back to all the abortions they've had. At some point in the future, Moshe says the family, a fundamental unit of society, could completely break down. We were already there. We're going to have children born from sperm donors with no fathers, eggs and embryos frozen, suspended indefinitely until someone wants to add a child to her life. That's what we already have. Look, is there any difference but between like a woman's getting a kid with a sperm donor or a woman's getting pregnant by one of the 20 guys she had sex with that week she doesn't even know, and neither of those 20 are willing to commit anyway? Is there really a difference from the kid's perspective? Either way, he doesn't know who his daddy is. At least with the sperm donor, there's at least a higher chance of it happening, or of him finding out who his dad is at some point. That's right. Married men are happier. You can take that, Cookie. Yeah. Yeah, dude, if that's so true, you guys can have it. You can have you can be twice as happy for my sake. Go ahead. This is not a happy future for most of humanity. Well, and this is an inconvenient truth that gets Turtlingy Monkey banned constantly. There is a correlation between women's empowerment and the marriage rate and the fertility rate and the birth rate. Everyone knows how to fix this problem, yet nobody is willing to actually fix the problem. So yeah, it's just going to keep getting worse until it explodes, but not going to be my problem. John Berger worries about the future too, not just for men, but for women, who he says aren't being served by the current dating dynamic or dating apps, which about half of American never married adults say they used at some point. Their business goal is to retain users, said Berger, of the apps like Tinder that want daters to keep searching for love. The day you settle down is the day their profits die. And that's why I laugh at their like super premium, like $100 a month options. If they actually found you somebody, you wouldn't be paying them $100 a month anymore, would you? Now, his advice to America's young whammons is to get off the apps and try mixed collar dating. When college indoctrinated whammons restrict their dating pool to college indoctrinated men, they are effectively limiting themselves to too small of a dating pool. Yeah, especially when you consider that tradesmen make more money than a lot of college graduated men. And I said Berger, the author of Datanomics, How Dating Became a Lopsided Numbers Game. And if you exclude firemen, electricians, plumbers, and other folks that don't have a college degree, you may be excluding people you would actually really click with romantically. Jamal, the security guard in Florida, says he is open to dating someone more indoctrinated or successful than he is, and he believes he could bring a lot to the table. Sure, he doesn't have $1 million, but he wants to do the little things like cook dinner for his partner and leave love notes around the house. I'm trustworthy, loyal, and very direct. I'm also very protective. I'm not afraid to try new things. I mean, if he's a security guard, I mean, even if he can't do the providing, he could probably at least do the protecting. But still, he knows without many whammons toggle their apps so that men like him, those without bachelor's degree, without six-figure salary, never appear on their feeds. And then those same women complain when men filter them out every time. And he says that they're missing out on a lot of good guys. Look, just stop caring about them. Whatever. Let them miss out. Nobody cares. Just focus on your hobbies, man, or get a passport if you really need it. The problem isn't that I don't have anything to offer someone. I do, he says, but I can't even get my foot in the door. And if they don't talk to me, what can I do? Yeah, and if you press the issue, you come off as a creepy stalker. That's another one of those behaviors. I guess it's fine when women do it, huh? But oh man, I'm just glad that the mainstream and specifically women are finally starting to realize how bad this is. Like, was it that Nora Vincent woman who spent a year living as a man and the experience ended up making her Minecraft herself? Because no, she realized how it really is. Hopefully, women don't have to go to that extreme, but it really is. It's as easy as just creating a dating app profile. Pretending to be a man, and you see real fucking quick what the environment's like for a man, without even having to leave your house. So give it a try if you don't believe us.